Hi, welcome to DramaMeans. We're talking about the 2024 Chinese drama You Are My Secret. Today, drama means office romance, drama means building a life together, and drama means lying through your teeth so that your coworkers don't know about your romantic relationship.
And a little bit of a summary. Two high school classmates reunite after 10 years apart and strike up a quickie marriage of convenience. On paper, he's perfect husband material, and he's had a crush on her for years. It's a win-win. But things get complicated when they realize his new job transfer makes him her direct boss, something that is strictly against company policy. Together, the pair must keep their relationship secret and discover whether or not marrying someone for all the wrong reasons can actually work out in the end.
I'm going to start right out with this. Okay, so Yu Heng has a 10-year crush on Xiaoning. And as I've said before, I think these first love, really long crushes where they don't even see each other, and it's just this harboring these feelings for so long and then coming back and just so he literally checks her social media throughout this whole 10 years,
Yeah.
right? Or 9 years, right? Until she sees that she's broken up with her boyfriend, and then he immediately goes back to China. And then approaches her parents and is like, I've had a crush on her for so long. Here's all my information, my social security number, my background. I have I've never been arrested, all this stuff to her parents, and is like, help me pursue her, right? And so it was actually her parents that tell him where she is.
Yeah, go to speed dating or whatever it is.
Yeah. And so it's fucking creepy, man. I don't care how good looking Miles Way is. I don't care how how well off he is with his job. It's fucking creepy. It's not romantic. And I know they're trying to make it romantic, but it is so stalkery, so premeditated. Everything is just schemed and planned so that they meet supposedly coincidentally.
I mean, what you're describing is the start of a horror movie. The line between stalkers and romantic pursuit, as I think, has been demonstrated in media over and over again, really does depend on how good looking the guy is. Because if this guy was ugly, dude, this is real scary show from beginning to end. We are watching a horror show.
Yeah. So that part, I know, I don't know if people actually understand how creepy this is. But I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's fiction, it's fine. But when it's not fiction, it's not fine. But it's also this also gives men the wrong idea, as if this is okay. But anyway.
I want to describe the situation to you though, but in a nutshell, right? So a guy in high school has a crush on a girl. He doesn't act on it. He doesn't confess his love to her. He leaves. He then pines after her for a decade, which means he got nothing else going on for himself. He didn't even find a hobby in the meantime to keep him busy. Then he's like, oh, I'm going to stalk you online. And then when her boyfriend gets removed, which feels convenient, how do we know that he didn't have something to do with it? Just going to come out and say that. Then he rushes back and then just plops in her lap. It's oh, what a coincidence meeting you here. How does this not end with a dead body?
Well, the thing is, it's only a dead body if she rejects him.
It's still incel behavior. And I feel
Yes, for sure.
I feel like if you have the type of personality where nothing has gone on for you in any way for 10 years, that you're still pining over someone you never really even approached in a romantic way before, something wrong in your brain. And I don't think that marriage is going to work out. Maybe the sequel to this, maybe season 2 is a horror movie. They move to the country, and then she like realizes his basement is filled with cadavers, and he like is really mean to animals. And you're like, whoa, this took a dark turn.
Yeah. Though they try to justify it by saying like, oh, she really helped him turn his life around. And at one point, he really did have thoughts of ending everything, because he was going through with his own dad's suicide and his, like being pretty much bullied and outcasted by his classmates. And she was kind of supposedly like the light that like let him realize, oh, he can work through his troubles, right? Which I understand that, and I understand him having like good impression of her, having good feelings for her, having a crush on her in high school. But like when it but like he never approached her at that time. And by the time he's like readied himself to pursue her and confess to her, another guy confessed to her and they become a couple, and then he just backs away, right? That's a very passive thing to do. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, he should have tried to approach her when she's newly a couple with someone else, because that won't work out either. But it's also like, I feel like he was just like waiting for his time. It still feels like really weird.
I mean, I understand too that like sometimes timing doesn't work out for you and someone else, and you do have to wait for the right time. I guess for me, they just made the mountain in this too big. It's 10 years. Like 10 years is a long, long time. And it feels like they made this mountain, like, why did it have to be 10 years? Why did they have to be like other countries away for 10 years? Then he has to come back. Like, it just feels like they're just creating this situation just to create it, when there's plenty of ways to tell a story about two people who've never really been in a relationship together. And he's like, I would love to be. Oh, you're available. Let's do it. I feel like there's ways to set this up that don't feel as creepy, as I guess is a long way of saying that.
So here's the thing. It's not that I think that they can't, like, say he has a crush on her and like he still has like good feelings for her even when he's abroad or whatever. Like, we have a close friend, that like reconnected with an old high school classmate, and they're now married. The thing is, during the time when they were apart, they had whole different lives.
I think that's the part that I'm complaining about, is the fact that his life feels like it completely went on pause, especially the romantic part, because he's like pining. And like the 10 years of pining for someone without even another prospect like entering the picture just feels like not right. Like, it doesn't feel like you're making good decisions in your brain space.
Yeah.
That you've left no room for someone because of a memory of someone from 10 years ago. It feels stalkery. It feels obsessive. It feels like the guy who wanted to marry Jodie Foster, so he kills, he shoots at the president. Like that. That's the kind of thing.
What?
Yeah, that was what the guy that shot Reagan. He was like obsessed with Jodie Foster and was writing Jodie Foster love letters, and then she didn't like respond, and so then he's like, I know what I'll do. I'll shoot the president. That'll get her attention.
What the hell?
I'm telling you, this is things that creepy people do, and so like it feels too obsessive, not loving, I guess, is my bigger thing. And
yeah.
I know that love and obsession can flirt with each other, but when it starts leaning to just obsession, like that's why I don't really love the love at first sight thing either when you see the girl and she's just so beautiful and now you have to have her and you'll do anything to have her. And it's like scheming and plotting and planning and I got to have the girl because she looks pretty. And I'm like, well, now that's just an obsession. That's an object. That's like when you see a cool car. But human beings aren't cars. You're supposed to get to know them and like them in different ways than just, oh, they're hot. So anyway, I'm going to start rambling about that. But it feels like the setup here, they could have done something to give us a more realistic setup, but then still held the values they wanted.
Yeah. Anyway, so moving past the hang up of creepy, I like that he was so direct. It wasn't like a lot of like, oh, well, I'm gonna go send her flowers every day, or like, just like cheesy, tropey things. I like that he's like, well, if you're just looking to check all the boxes, and I seem to fulfill all the requirements, just marry me. Very out in the open, very right in the beginning, cut to the chase. None of like, at least he's not conniving.
I appreciate the non-conniving. I still find the directness to be weird. Like, have you ever met anyone where you're like, hey, I know we don't hang out much, but like you could just marry me instead. And you're like, you know what? That's a good idea. Like, no, that's a horrible idea. So like you're asking me to buy a lot here at the beginning. Like you're just asking me to buy a whole cow sight unseen.
That, you're right. The thing is, I like it because we haven't seen it very much.
I'll give it that credit for sure.
Right? And so it kind of breaks through your normal tropes. But I do understand what you're saying, because why couldn't he just pursue her like normally and be like, let's go to a movie?
Hey, there are restaurants. We both need to eat. Maybe we should eat together. And like, oh yeah, that's something humans do. Right. I mean, I'm glad they didn't do the conniving, the planning, that kind of thing, because the longer they would have done that, the creepier this gets.
Yeah.
So if they're going to pick a direction, direct is for sure better. But I also think like, people like coffee. Do you like coffee? I like coffee. You like tea? We'll go to a place that they have coffee and tea, and we'll sit down and we'll consume these beverages together. And it'll be delightful.
Yes. So it's clearly not a normal relationship.
Yeah, the setup for me in this one is very difficult. It's a little eye rolling. Like I'm like, get into it already. Like the setup. He just again, I think I've quoted this before, but I worked with a producer, and his quote was like, "Listen, when the ice is really thin, you got to skate fast." So like when your story don't got much to it or it's kind of dumb, just skate real fast through it and make us forget about that part and get to the stuff we like.
You know what? And they do. Like it does. It's the thing is it's all done for comedy.
Yeah, and that helps. That does help.
Yeah. I do like the fact that they miss the place closes and they aren't actually able to marry right away.
Right.
But then they're, married in their parents' eyes. And I really like the connection that they have with their parents and each other's parents. It just makes them very likable right away. I do think it is weird and creepy that he approached her parents first, but also I kind of do like getting the parents permission.
The blessing.
The blessing.
Yeah.
And the agreement first. I don't think that happens a lot anymore, where you kind of ask parents' permission to
all
date.
Relationship norms feel like they're out the window these days.
Yeah.
So, I get that too, and at least it feels a little stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Even though it's a little strange.
Yeah. And he is throughout the whole drama, and he is there's not he's not weird, creepy, other than the stocky, But
that's the incongruity to me. I don't buy good-looking, successful, job, educated, man of basically her dreams. Like we say, he ticks all the boxes, which means he would tick the boxes for a lot of girls, right? And he's so obsessed with her, though. It's like, nah, got the girl waiting. Her boyfriend's just got to die first. I mean, did I say that out loud? I mean, if they just break up amicably, then amicable. Oh boy. Amicably. I can speak English. But those two guys, I don't know how they exist in the same body.
Well, he definitely has a lot of his own pursuers. He's just always like, yeah, I already have my eye on somebody else.
Weird.
But, that is like kind of a girl's fantasy that like they are the only one that their man sees.
It's your fantasy until it's your nightmare. Until you're locked in the basement next to the pork meat.
Oh, God. Anyway. So, yeah, the beginning is funny. And that's the point. It's funny where like they hide it from their parents that they're not actually married yet. They want to get married so soon. And yeah, I mean, do I buy it? No, but am I okay with it? Yeah.
Well, it didn't make you stop watching it.
Yeah.
That's maybe the most important part, is that you're not dropping it because of those things. You're going, all right, we got to buy into this idea. It's a little silly, but then the tone is also silly in comedy. So then you're like, all right, I'll stay on the ride. And if it wasn't comedy, I do think you go, now this is too weird. I'm out. Like, it's not a good drama premise.
So it does help that it's Miles Way and Karlina Zhang, because I like both actors. If you remember, Karlina Zhang was the female lead in Shining for One Thing.
Yes.
And Miles Way, well, he was in the other one, the one you hated, the Fox Spirit Matchmaker.
Don't remind me of this one.
But
check out my thoughts to that on our Dramas We Dropped episode. I've got lots to say.
But, I liked him. He was very charismatic in this. She was, like, lovable. Very, like, cute and, like... But also she wasn't... Okay, her character is not a dumb person. But there are times when she's dumb. And I'll get to that later. But mostly, like, she's not a dumb person. Both their characters are likable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that goes a long way. Like we say, like sometimes an entire movie or series just falls on actor chemistry, where you're watching something that's not that good. And then you're like, yeah, but the chemistry just works.
Yeah.
The actors just bring it on screen together. So it can buy a lot back.
That's how I felt about Love for Love's Sake. Because, like, I thought it was so good because the chemistry and the actors were so good. And then when you actually think about the plot, you're like, oh, yeah, that's not right.
Right.
But anyway, I think my favorite part of this drama is that how mature it is. Like, once they're actually together and, like, their day-to-day life, and even though they work in the office together, they try really hard not to let, like, their personal relationship affect their job and their, like, work ability. And I think they treat their own relationship, like, maturely. Like, he's always been, like, it's her and always gonna be her. It's not gonna be anybody else. So he doesn't have, like, he's not, like, swayed by anybody. There's never, like, a real love triangle, even though there's this girl in it that is, like, just up on him.
Right.
Right? And there's, like, she was just, and then she's, like, not very likable, for sure, because she's very, like, bitchy and, like, passive-aggressive towards her. Shouting. So that part was pretty annoying for me, but the way that they, like, dealt with like every obstacle that comes their way, it's always been like, let's handle it the most logical way we can possibly think of. And then I like how he's not always, like, running in to save her, like it's like that,
Yeah.
that trope of like, oh, the girl can't do anything on her own and can't solve her own problems, that she needs a man to save her. Like, it's not like that. Like, yes, she's more inexperienced, so he does give her pointers, like at home or whatever, and he's like, oh, well, like, you should think of it this way, and you should like work on things this way, and he pushes her to like, hey, you should really work on like becoming a permanent employee, because that's like our deal, that's our agreement, kind of thing. But he's not like, oh, let me call your clients for you, let me,
she's got to solve her own problems.
Yeah.
Because also, like, that would be kind of negating the deal, right? Like, if he came in and just solved all of her problems, like, what is she learning? How is she becoming a better employee? Like, he's almost sabotaging her half of that agreement by, holding her hand the entire way.
Yeah.
You gotta let the bird fly itself, or it will never learn to fly,
Yeah. But I like that his presence is so comforting to her, and like, whenever she's stressed about something, he's there. It's not like, oh, let me just solve the situation for you, but I'm here to like hold you when you need me, and like a shoulder for you to cry on when you need it, kind of thing. And she's like that with him, through her going through and like meeting his mom, and then when his mom gets like sicker and then ultimately passes away, like, she has to like wake him up and kind of like let him deal with the situation, and also like him kind of reconciling with his mom, because like he doesn't quite know how to like handle living with his mom, because before he goes abroad, she was like a mess because of his own dad's suicide. So it was just like, he loves her so much, but he doesn't quite know how to communicate with her. And Xiaoning is like kind of that bridge, and then like brings them together, and like it kind of becomes where like there aren't any regrets between him and his mom before she passes.
Well, it feels like this is the mature part of the show. As goofy as the beginning is, this is what supporting the person you're with looks like.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you do everything for them. It doesn't mean you run in and fix everything. It's what is the support they actually need, and providing that thing, which I think a lot of people don't quite understand, like what being in a supportive relationship is like. Like, how do you support the person you're with without taking their autonomy away, without taking their identity away, not making their thing your thing. And so it does take a mature person and a mature subject matter part of this show. And that felt good when we're coming from a beginning where I'm like, oh, this is dumb. But then I'm like, okay, wait, settling in. Like a mature relationship where they both don't feel like dummy dumps who like can't communicate and they can't do anything right. Like, it just feels like they do prove to the audience they're a decent couple.
Yeah. I think that's like my favorite part, is that they I mean, obviously they had to learn more about each other, and then learn to like communicate with someone, and like actually learn to live with someone, in a romantic way. But I also feel like it's very like, not, it's like reality of how like you deal with living with somebody for the first time, and like not your parents that will like, if you throw a temper tantrum, your parents will like, know how to deal with you. Like, you both have to like, oh, we need to communicate when we're mad at each other still. Like, we don't want to end things, but we're mad, but we still need to like reconcile. And it gives you a very like real perspective on how a relationship should work. So I love that. I do like how they handled the pursuer of Yu Heng, Tang Yuhui. She was so fucking annoying in every way. Like, just like her walking into a room and you're like, God, I hate this person. Like, this character is freaking awful. And, but luckily she's not in it too much. But whenever she is in it, she's exceptionally annoying. But the fact is, he never bends to her. He's very clear on how professional and he needs to behave a certain way as a boss. But also, like, he keeps his distance. He tells her straight up, I'm not interested in you. You know, you're only an employee. I didn't actually want you in our department. Like, you were sent over here by, like, the higher ups. Like, very, very clear on where he stands. You know, he never led the girl on, even though she was super delusional towards him. And although at the beginning, Xiaoning was kind of annoyed at it and like a little jealous, and you know, her weird dumb conclusions of like, oh, he's had a crush on her for the longest time.
Yeah, the misdirect kind of like, oh, he's not interested in me after all.
Yeah. So that part was annoying too, but I do like that, you know, when it comes down to it, she's like, I know he's not going to do anything with her. And like, we're a couple, and even though she's annoying and she's annoying to both of us, we're not going to let her affect our relationship.
Yeah, I just want to speak directly to like the writers of the world, the romance writers of the world. Just tune in just for this next 10-second rant. If we want to keep couples apart, we don't always have to go to the love triangle. And we always don't have to go to the delusional love triangle that's not even a triangle. You know what I mean? Like, nobody watching this show thought this was a viable romantic partner for our lead guy. But we're going to do it anyway. So why do it, though? Like, there's other ways you could keep this couple on their toes. There could be professional rivals that are just out to ruin him by exposing the relationship, not wanting to be with him. Like, why does it have to be a love rival? Like, why is that always the answer? It just, again, it feels like low-hanging fruit that we just can't think of anything better. And I know we can think of better because there's shows and movies that have done it. We can keep people apart and we can keep tension and drama in relationships without needless love triangling. And it's tired, and I'm tired of it.
I agree with this. But I mean, I also understand, like, they're good looking people. He has really good specs, right? So it makes sense that they have pursuers. It's just, I like how they handle the pursuers, you know? Because, like, yeah, there's outside people that, like, have a crush on him. He's a good looking guy. It makes sense, but it's also, like, I'm glad it's never been, like, well, you talk to her and then I'm mad and then we don't talk to each other for 2 episodes, or they were fighting for 2 episodes. And then it's just like, you know, I hate that stuff. And luckily their relationship isn't affected by a third party. Their biggest fight is that he couldn't accept the fact that his mom was dying.
No, absolutely. And my point with the love triangle part of this is, like you say, it's never going to affect their relationship. So why is it even in the story? Because it's not affecting the plot of our story. It's not affecting, so it's not really giving us anything but an annoying character and like the idea that people like him. There's a million ways you could like get that idea across. I just don't understand the need to fill this void with this thing that kind of amounts to nothing. Like, the best love triangles are where you could understand the person, you know, at the tip of the triangle could end up with either person equally, which is really hard to do. That's a great love triangle where the audience goes, boy, I don't know if our characters are going to go left or right. They're both great options. Anything other than that starts to get annoying to me because I don't know where the drama comes from. We already know what the lead is going to do. We already know what our lead couple is going to do. And it's either just going to be annoying along the way, which the show didn't do, where it's going to be like kind of convoluted and twisty and turny and all these like miscommunications between two people that just sit down in a room and talk to each other already. Or it's going to be kind of a bunch of meh.
Yeah.
And so I would rather focus on the other part of the drama, the thing, the mom, the family, the work, all of the forces that actually could make a difference in their relationship and could drive a wedge and make our loving couple not be together. I want to focus on that. Let's focus our energy there.
Yeah. I do like the fact that even though she is a super annoying character, and you could say, like, it's just part of her character trait that, like, she doesn't do anything that doesn't benefit her. And so even though, and I think they also in this drama try to use her as a example to the world of how not to behave.
Mm-hmm.
Because she, in the end, she has this like weird speech with Xiaoning's kind of supervisor. I think it's like Jingjie or whatever. So she's like, I just was so obsessed with him since college, and it just became such a like I had to have him kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it like she goes into this whole like self-reflecting speech, kind of thing, which was like, it was almost like a PSA on like, hey, don't get so obsessive over somebody, even though our male lead was so obsessive with the female lead.
So I'm like, I don't know if it's PSA thing, because they're kind of PSAing in both ways. Yeah. They're kind of pissing in both pools.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it was so out of place. It wasn't done well. If that was like an example that the writers or director wanted to give off,
she might as well just look directly into the camera and be like, "I'm talking to you, bub." Like it's just like, don't be so obsessed.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that the minute he was like, "It's never gonna happen. It's never gonna be you," and then he even tells her, like, ever since the beginning, it's always been this girl, right? Mm-hmm. Xiaoning. And then she knew about their relationship, but never, like, reported them.
Right.
To, like, the higher-ups, right? And so he had asked, like, why didn't you? And she's like, why would I ever do anything that's not beneficial to me? Like, reporting you to the higher ups means I've burned a bridge with you. Uh-huh. And how do I know, like, down the line I need, like, help with a client, or, like, we still need to do business together? Like, and that's, like, the mature way to do it. Like, I'm not going to I'm not going to stand in the corner and scheme just so I could get the guy. And, like,
no, I'm going to be a truly selfish prick and only do things that benefit myself.
Well, it's just like,
I understand what you're saying as far as the scheming, because we've seen shows where literally office mates try to murder each other over like office politics, and you're like, well, that went a little far.
Yeah.
So I get that part, but it does make me laugh. It's just like so self-serving. It's like,
well, yes, because that's her character.
And he's like, do you see now why I don't like you? like, is it coming through at all? Like, some of your personality traits are not very good. Maybe you should look at some of this. I'm not saying turn me in. Just saying this whole, you know what, I might want to use you in the future thing. Kind of a red flag. Relationship-wise.
Yeah. Anyway. But for me, it's better than, like, scheming to hurt people.
Yeah, I don't
just for the sake of hurting people.
I don't want that either.
Yeah. So I also like how Xiaoning handles her ex-boyfriend too, and he was also kind of annoying, but like not such a long time. Like he comes and goes pretty fast, so that is nice. I like that he shoots a shot, like, I want to reconcile, I want to get back together, and she's like, no, I don't like you anymore. and I have someone else I like. And, and she finally, like, she explains it to him, and she is very, like, upfront with him. And then he's like, oh, I guess I've definitely lost my chance with you. And then we never see him again. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and it falls back into my thing of useless love triangles, that, like, he shows up, he's never going to be an option, we never think he's going to be an option, and he's not an option. I think what it does demonstrate a little bit more on this side is her kind of really coming around with her relationship, like being able to tell someone, like, at the beginning, she's looking for the guy who's perfect on paper. And if she wants to just trade one guy who's good on paper for another guy that's good on paper, maybe this dude is an option. But no, it's now been deeper than that. And now it's a real relationship. And so her saying no to that so emphatically is kind of giving us a little hint at her growth in a way that I think this works a little bit better than the other.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I do really like the chemistry between Miles Way and Karlina Zhang. Like, they are cute together. They have just like those little, like, sultry moments, and it's like they're more mature, so they do have their little sexual tension, and him, like, wanting her but, like, holding back, and, like, making sure, like, they're in the same mind frame, and and they like both like each other, equally.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like their cuteness together, the little moments. There's a scene where Xiaoning and her bestie are drunk, and her bestie's more drunk than her, and the ex-boyfriend takes them home, and then the bestie's ex-boyfriend also coming back to reconcile.
Everyone's just wanting reconciliation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Give me another chance, coach.
And so, like, it ends up, they kick the Xiaoning's ex-boyfriend out, and it's like, we don't need you, please go away. Right? So then he stays downstairs, and then, like, the other ex-boyfriend's chilling in the car in the driveway. And then Miles Way shows up, right? And he's like, he can't go up because
these two buffoons are sitting outside camped out.
Yeah. So he's, like, hiding, right? And so then he texts her, and she's like, yeah, you better not come up because this whole thing. And then finally he waits out the one ex-boyfriend leaving, but the other one in the car basically just falls asleep in the car, and he's there the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
So finally she comes out, and it's like morning already. And she's like, oh, he probably left already. And then she's like about to walk home, and he shows up, and he bought her, and I guess, like, honey water, they believe is good for hangovers, like the night after you drink or whatever.
Yeah, so, hydration and some sugar, sure.
So he, like, made honey water in this, like, little, like, thermos, and is, like, ready for her. And it's just, like, these cute little moments. And you're like, and, like, as a girl, it's quite lovely.
I literally thought you said he bought her a thermostat, and I was like, what, is her air conditioner broken? Like, I don't know, why is he buying her a thermostat?
I said thermos.
Thermos, that makes way more sense.
Now I have to listen to see if I said thermostat before that.
It'll be funny either way. I was like, thermos, honey water. I didn't understand how the thermostat and the honey water all went together, but I get it now.
Well, it's also warm and stuff, but, like, it's just that effort. And, like, us girls, we desire effort so much. The things that we didn't, like, have to ask for at every turn, like, we don't have to write out turn by turn directions. And, like, it's just that effort and, like, thoughtfulness that we really desire.
You know what guys desire? Turn by turn directions.
We know that, but it's so, like...
Oh, it makes it so much easier.
That's the thing. To maintain a relationship, it's not easy. You gotta put in effort.
That sounds like so much effort.
Yes. Anyway, I would love to see Karlina Zhang in another drama with her Shining for One Thing co-star.
Oh, okay, right.
But the chemistry, like she had great chemistry with both guys, but I really, really liked the chemistry with her and Miles Way. And I've watched some of other Miles Way's dramas, and I have not really been into them. I know there was some, like, he was in this one where it's like this girl and then he has like a kid or whatever. I tried watching that. It was so freaking annoying. Like, even though people really liked that one. But I haven't really found him with like great chemistry with other female co-stars. And she is like one of the ones I really like. And she also had really good chemistry with him on Hello Saturday, which is like a variety show. And they went on to promote this drama.
Mm-hmm.
And they were super cute on that too.
I mean, like we said at the beginning, like the stars and the chemistry and the dynamic between the two of them carry this.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's going to be what you tune in for if you like things like this. Like, that's why you tune in. That's why you're here.
Yeah. So here's my biggest gripe. She annoyed me. Her character annoyed me. I couldn't understand why she was so dumb when it came. There were so many hints and so many things that pointed that she was his white moon. Do you remember? I told you before what white moon means.
I can't remember now.
White moon is that person that you've always like desired but like is unreachable. That's why they call it the white moon, is like the crush that you are never able to obtain.
Right.
Right? And so she discovers this like clay figure, and literally this clay figure looks exactly like her. Like, you look at it and you'd be like, whoa, that's me. Why do you have a clay figure of me, right?
They should have made it a little more abstract and buried it a little bit.
It just looked exactly like her. And she was like, oh, it's like his white moon. I wonder what kind of girl.
As she's looking at herself in the mirror.
Exactly. And I'm just like, oh my God, really? Like, okay, fine. Apparently you're supposed to believe it's not you. But throughout the whole show, like, there's just so many hints of like, you're the one he's had a crush on for so fucking long. You don't see it? Like, look at how he treats you. Look at all these evidences. Look at all the, like, the freaking barrette she finds in his drawer, right? And, like, at one point, she had dropped her barrette in high school. And I understand if you're like, oh, just random barrette, right? If you don't recognize it. But she's like, I had one when I was in high school, just like this.
Yeah, it felt a lot of stupidity for stupidity's sake, because again, like, the writer and director need her to like say those things out loud, and they're maybe trying to play them for comedy, but then after a bit you're like, okay, but like, though, don't you? Like, ha 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 ha, but like, you get it, right?
Yeah.
No? Seriously?
And I thought they were gonna like save it because they had some big reveal and it was like gonna be grand, and then she's gonna discover like, oh, I've been your crush this whole time. And it amounted to like, oh, he's gonna propose to her, and that's when he reveals to her that she was his crush the whole time. But it was so anticlimactic because the audience has been holding on to it for so long.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't. And so it just like, I was like, man, this was really like, you made her stupid for no reason because it didn't amount to anything.
I mean, the only thing that's nice, at least about the plotting, is that she doesn't accept his love just because he's had a crush for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the only part I could salvage from any of that. But I don't like dumb for plot's sake. I'm like, why? Why are we holding on to this? Why are we keeping this?
Yeah.
You know?
I understand, like, she has to be in love with him first before she realizes that he had a crush on her for 10 years. Because if she didn't like him and realized he'd been stalking her for the last 10 years, it would be so creepy. And then you'd be like, okay, I don't want to date you anymore.
Again, a lot of these things feel horror movie. Like, in his apartment, she finds a clay figure that looks exactly like her. And she's like, why do you have a lock of my hair? Like, wait, what? No, that's not your hair. That's just the cat. Like,
Oh, yeah, and they do have a cat together.
okay.
Don't they?
I don't
or am I
remember a
thinking
cat.
of a different drama?
I don't remember a cat.
Okay, now I don't remember if there was a cat or not. I think it might have been a different drama.
He probably killed the cat.
Stop. No.
It's in the basement. It's being tortured.
No, they do have a cat. I don't remember. Oh, wait, that's the other one? Shit.
Well, it'll be a mystery because I'm never going back to this. I have no emotional attachment to whether or not they have a cat.
No, that's the other one. That's the other one with Seven Tan and Shukai. They have a cat together.
I'm glad we cleared that up. Mystery of the cat solved. For a minute, there was a cat in this drama, and then now there's conveniently not a cat in this drama, which makes his lie about her hair stapled to his wall even weirder. Anyway.
Okay, we're losing our shit. I pretty much liked this drama. I mean, definitely there were issues, as you can tell, and we're kind of bagging on it quite a bit. I was kind of on the borderline of stepping out for fresh air, especially the parts where she's just being dumb, and I'm like, really? Like, you can't read the room? And, like, the thing is, if she's like a young high school person with absolutely no experience, maybe she's a little naive, but she was in a relationship for like 7 years, you know, like they're complete adults, and for her to be so oblivious and naive, it just doesn't really make sense to me. But I still really liked the chemistry between the two actors, and I do like I like the two side characters, like her supervisors. They end up being a couple together. I really liked them. So I'm going to give it on board karaoke.
I'll say stepping out to get fresh air because it feels like that's the rating I give to things when I've kind of roll my eyes through most of it, but it's not offensive.
Uh-huh.
Like, nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's some wrong with it, but like nothing offensive. It's a fine watch. It's less fun than karaoke.
Yeah. Yeah, I give onboard karaoke to things that like I liked, but there were annoying parts.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes karaoke's great, and then someone gets up and sings Creed really badly for a really long time.
Our recommendation for this week is called Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku. It is office romance. It is, I forgot if they were high school or college classmates, and then they end up working at the same company together. And then the girl is like a major like otaku.
Is this a series? Is this a book?
This is a manga and also an anime.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I recommend that. There's office romance. It's cute. It's funny. It's quirky. It's more lighthearted than You Are My Secret, but it's definitely it's a cute anime. I watched the anime. I have the manga on my Kindle list, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Cool. And I recommend checking out the DramaMeans Instagram page at DramaMeans_podcast, where you can take a look at these recs and recs from past episode. And you'll see our DramaMeans scale there and other kind of short form stuff we do. So make sure you check us out and follow us there, and subscribing on YouTube and all of the platforms that you're listening to this on. Make sure you're following along so you get all the stuff we're doing and talking about from here on out.
And that is it for us this week. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.